Welcome into Follow Everton. It's the post-match reaction to today's match between Everton and Manchester City. Final score, Everton 0, Manchester City 3. There's a lot we can say about this game. My immediate thoughts, and rarely do I ever promote my own tweets, but I summed it up right after the game in this tweet right here, which I'll get on the screen in 1 second. Sorry, guys, that was poor preparation. It's very rare, maybe the first time ever, that I can take multiple positives from a 3-0 loss, but one of them is that no player in an Everton shirt ever quit. They showed more fight every 10 minutes than they did for the entire 90-plus against the likes of Fulham, etc. Man City are likely the best team in the world, and we obviously know where we are. I'm okay with Dyche's subs as well. If we get this effort against Wolves and or Bournemouth, we will be fine. Fair play to the fans for sticking behind this team with songs and chants at the end. They recognize the effort. Little bit to unpack there. In terms of an effort perspective, by the way, you can find that at Real Domino Chris on Twitter. Cheap plug. Listen, there's a lot you can take away from this game, okay? The last I checked, all you can ask from your squad is that they give 100% effort. I saw that from every player on the pitch. That personally, my opinion. As we bring in my buddy Steve, wait for him to give me the thumbs up if he's ready to go. But I saw that from every player on the pitch today. I don't have any problem with that. Yes, nobody likes losing 3-0. I'm not saying that that's a great result by any means, but this is probably the best team in the world, and we showed grit and determination. Listen, whether you like, I mean, if the argument is, well, it's a shame that it's gotten to this, and it's a shame where we are as a club, and it's a shame about the recruitment and the board, you're absolutely right. But I'm not having anybody criticizing the players today. That's my personal opinion. You can, of course, have your say in the chat. I'm not going to mute or block anybody if they have it's certainly your opinion. But in terms of, there's no way I'm going to agree with anybody talking about lack of effort, about not fit to wear the shirt, about anything like that. What's up, guys? Heads up. See, here's the thing about Mabsy talks about Mope here. As I bring in my mate Steve, I'll get to the comments in a bit, guys. Thanks everybody for joining. We're almost to 100 already. I imagine we're going to get a few hundred live viewers for this as well. I've given my immediate thoughts. Steve, your immediate takeaway before I get to some of the comments.
Hi, Chris. Obviously, it's always difficult to come on after a defeat of any nature.
I love your drink cup, by the way. Fantastic. Yes.
On the fact that we kind of expected that it might be somewhere around maybe 2-0, 3-0, being sort of realistic on this one. It's on the upper end of where I feel comfortable. I felt like if it gone any more, like 4 or 5-1, I would have been thinking that could affect us in the next few games. We've lost 3-0 to the best side, definitely in Europe. I think that we'll see on Wednesday night. I think they'll get through against Real Madrid, and that will highlight what a terrific side they are. But I mean, who needs to say that? Look, we also we kind of lost the game at a point in the first half to individual brilliance as well. Up to the 37th minute, we pretty much held our own, and we could maybe have gone into the second half 0-0. And I think I was one of the fans who were kind of holding on to the fact that we might be able to get a point from the game. Unlikely, but the longer you keep it 0-0, the more of a chance. We saw a similar pattern to what happened at Arsenal in the end, which is we held on for 35 minutes, we let a goal in, and we let another goal in. We've gone in 2-0 at half time, exactly like at Arsenal. And then we've let one more in rather than two at Arsenal. So look, we've come out of those two games 7-0 reverse, the game down at Emirates, and this one today. And look, they're the best two sides in the league. They're so far apart from where we are in terms of their quality of play that it's amazing that we're actually on the same pitch as them. Really just feeling flat about it, but we need to pick ourselves up. We always knew that these were going to be two games now that we need to go into where we need to match or better that of Leicester and Leeds, and it wasn't going to be any different even if we got a point today. So goal difference is not great, Chris, is it? We didn't want to really be having to get in the zone there with them. It's kind of even Steven in that regard. But just with you on having a non-alcoholic drink and try and pick myself up from the defeat that, how many defeats has there been at home this year? How many goals have we conceded? So many, but you can't blame the players. They put the shift in. We're just not good enough for this sort of quality opposition. And if we'd lost 1-0, 2-0, it's still the same. It's a loss. So we
Right.
move on.
Yeah, we move on. As you said, sort of expected. I can't remember the last time Everton lost 3-0 and were clapped off by their home fans. As I said before, I think people really do recognize the effort. I'm seeing a few comments about why Mope and not Ellis Sims, or why Mope at all. Listen, Ellis Sims is not going to, hold up the ball at midfield and then all of a sudden make a great run and score a goal. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you can have Ellis Sims in the box and having a player cross it into him, maybe. And I know we had a couple of crosses in the second half. I guess my overall point is I don't think it mattered at this point who you were going to put at striker. If you're not going to put Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it's just not going to matter. And so no matter which way you look at it, even if you want to go from a sensible route of, if we're going to rest, save players, whatever, for the next two, that's another reason not to play Ellis Sims. But again, I don't think it matters. We went up today against, honestly, probably the best team in the world. I'm with you, Steve. I was hoping we would nick a point, but honestly, I'm okay with Calvert-Lewin coming off at halftime. Obviously, we're all hoping it's not an injury, and I don't think anybody thinks that it is. But listen, if we get even half of that effort against Wolves or Bournemouth, we'll be fine. Sean Dyche, for me, and I've been one of his harshest critics over the last 2-3 months or so. For me, he got it right in terms of the subs today. As far as, I know Ryan in our chats had to go at a bit of his tactics and a bit of his setup and all that sort of thing. I don't know how much I want to get into that. I really do think we are where we are for a reason. We're just not, I'm not going to come on here and say we're a championship side today. What I am going to say is we're not Manchester City. We needed them to have sort of an off day, and we needed to play a perfect game, and neither of those things happened. That's just the reality of the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I wasn't surprised that Calvert-Lewin came off. He came off a little bit earlier than I thought he might. But at the end of the day, we need to wrap him up. He's come back looking stronger from injury, and we need him to be firing on all cylinders down at Molineux and then at home against Bournemouth. And we couldn't afford to take any risks with him in the second half, because I don't think it's almost like Dyche should kind of play his hands. Interestingly, I think we probably had more shots in the second half. And we probably posed more of a threat in a perverse way, but that was more the fact that City kind of allowed us to do that more than anything. They'd kind of seen the game out, and they knew that we weren't going to get 3 or 4 goals, so that allowed to happen. Disappointed that we didn't make a bit more of the 8 corners that we had, though, Chris, because you would think that would be something we would be working on, but I thought that our set plays weren't that great, and we didn't create the chances that I expected us to do.
Right. As you mentioned, we had 8 corners in the game to their 6. Only 1 booking, and I think that happened a little bit later on. Again, the stats, 63.5% possession. I don't look too much into possession, given that we won 5-1 last week with 23% possession. So again, we basically expected that. Nothing jumps off out of the page other than, honestly, the scoreline of 3-0. Almost had a couple, we had a header. I can't remember if it was Onana. It was Tarkovsky, I believe. We had a header hit the bar in the second half on a corner, and then a minute later we had Amadou Onana or Yerry Mina. One of them got a head on it, and so at that point you're thinking, when both of those just missed the goal by inches, you think, well, maybe it's just not our night. I will say, no, I didn't think after we went 3-0 we would come back and get a point, but I was hoping with the effort we were showing in the second half that we might get at least a goal, help the goal difference a little bit, given that Man City have been prone to just a small brain lapses, falling asleep against the likes of Leeds, against the likes of even West Ham a couple of weeks earlier, laid on around 70 minutes or so. They have been conceding the rare goal, so that would have been nice to get one back for goal difference, but not to be on the night. This is the way the table looks as of now. Let me actually refresh this real quick, because that was not updated with 36 games played, and now it is. Everton still in 17th. I saw a comment that said, well, the good news is it's in our hands. Unfortunately, now it actually isn't in our hands. We'll know more after Monday night, but technically, if Leicester win all their games, it doesn't matter what Everton do whatsoever. Leicester and Forest, I should say. So that is at least a little bit of the worry. And again, can't say it enough. We came into this game figuring that this would probably be the reality, but now it's done. It's dusted. Now it actually is the reality. For now, at least until tomorrow night, it's not in our hands. Leicester on 30 points, 2 points behind. They still will need to win. And again, that's been a rare thing. Leicester are still not a good team, and they are home against Liverpool on a Monday night, who have all to play for, quite frankly. I don't want to analyze this too much, because again, it's sort of what we expected, and it's more of the fact that I'm trying to take a little bit of positives from today in terms of the effort, because without doing a match preview or anything like that, I just really do think going against Wolves and Bournemouth, especially Wolves, if we get this sort of effort, I really do think we'll be fine. Going to some of the comments, again, a lot from Mope, and talking about DCL groin injury. Yeah, I certainly hope not. I think we got a couple people taking the piss in the comments, which is totally fine. The Blues, how can anyone moan at Deitch for that game? It's just, it is what it is. I think we're not real. We have to be realistic, guys. We just played Man City. What do we actually expect? Everyone on here making these comments about negative stuff came in here before the game saying we're going to lose 2-0, 4-0, whatever the case. So let's keep it at least. I don't know. Just keep calm a little bit. I think after this, I don't know. I'm weirdly, maybe I'm numb to it. Maybe I'm so used to, again, go back and watch the Fulham game. We lost 3-1. It could have been 7-1, and we showed no effort whatsoever in the game. You can't tell me that that's the same team and the same performance today, right? I mean, I don't know. Talk a couple of these people off the ledge, I guess.
Yeah, somehow it's more it's more acceptable to lose to City 3-0. And if you'd said that we were going to get a point from the 2 games against City, I would have said, well, where's that point coming from? And we've actually managed that. And that point we got at the Etihad might actually be a vital point in the grand scheme of it. Right. But Chris, back on positivity, and this is decaf, by the way. If you'd said 4 weeks, yeah, well, you need to pick me up. Right, if you'd said 4 weeks ago that we would be in a position where Leicester have to play Liverpool, who are chasing down top 4, top 5, and that we're outside the relegation zone with 2 games to go, I would have snapped your hand off, because it was so unlikely that we'd even give ourselves this sort of fighting chance to actually escape. And I think if we do put the effort in, which I expect a similar sort of performance to what we saw against Leicester and Brighton away, why shouldn't it be? They're both away games,
right?
Then I think that we've got a really good chance of picking up a point at least at Wolves. And the last game, we never want it to go down to that, but we always knew it might.
Yeah, we always knew it might. I will say I'm slightly concerned about the Mykolenko injury. And, no, Mykolenko's not a world-class left back, but yes, Mykolenko is a left back. No, we don't have another left back. We're not, we cannot and will not, I hope, play Mason Holgate again this season. It just can't happen. No. That's just, it's an atrocity.
We have Leighton Baines come out and do the last
I know,
game,
right? And I mean, whether the Connor Cody experiment in the second half, you can say a couple of things about, no, he didn't concede a goal. But again, at that point, it's almost Man City seeing the game out. So I don't know what exactly to take from that. I don't know what Sean Dyche would have in mind about that. I mean, you've talked about playing, especially under Ancelotti, when we played 5 center backs in the back, but I don't know what capabilities we would have to do that. Obviously, you're going to keep Patterson on the right side. In the middle, it's going to be Mina and Tarkovsky, but are you going to shift a formation? Are you going to try playing something like 3 at the back? Are you going to have McNeil playing as a left wing back? Are you going to try Cody on the left side? Those options will all be running through all of our heads. How do you see that playing out if we don't have Mykolenko?
They are great questions. They're great questions. It'd be a shame to bring McNeil that far back, but what he proved today was how much he's got in the tank in terms of his ability to come back. He came back, made interceptions, swept up a few times. He was definitely helping. In fact, both him and Iwobi came back to really double up on the flanks and stop. The first 35 minutes were pretty good actually defensively. We kind of stopped it all. It was all very narrow with that typical dice triangle, and there was just no space. Right. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm with you on the fact that I think you just lose that element of balance as soon as you take a left back or a right back away. It's better though than at least you've got Patterson in. At least you've got a bona fide right back. The left back situation just doesn't sit, and you start playing the likes of Holgate there against really good quality opposition. You're going to get found out. We need to just play so well that it doesn't become an issue. And to do that, we need to take the game to the opposition like we did to Brighton. I felt like we played Brighton like it was a cup final, and I felt like we didn't play that today because I think at the back of our minds, and fans included, and perhaps Dyche at halftime, we knew that we probably weren't going to win this game.
Right.
And I think there might have been some energy conservation in the way that we performed today. I hope that's not the case, but I do feel like we had another 1 or 2 notches of pace and adrenaline and energy that we probably will find in these last 2 games that we just couldn't find today. Just like we're chasing shadows against good players. They're bringing on. Look who they bring on left midfield.
Right.
Just like, you can chase
you just have to laugh, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's a bit of an embarrassment of riches on their behalf, but I think we'll see on Wednesday when we see them go through against Real. I fully expect that they beat Real at home in the Etihad with this quality of players. It won't be, a country mile, but they will win.
right.
I think we'll then reflect on this and go, yeah, well, look, they're the Champions League finalists. They're a greatest team. They're kind of waltzing away with the league without really hitting stride until February,
Something like
March.
that. And again, we know where we are. You mentioned on the match preview that we've only scored more than one goal at Goodison once this season, and that was against
Yeah.
Crystal Palace where we won 3-0. And I know what we
Yeah.
did last week. I'm not trying to diminish what we just did at the Amex against Brighton. We won 5-1. Can't say that enough. It was an unbelievable day. What I will say, a fair amount of those goals were off of Brighton mistakes. When you go down 2-0, for everyone criticizing us for not going for it, you go down 2-0, and especially when you go down 3-0, City aren't going to make those mistakes. And even if they do, they have the players that will recover well enough to that. We're just not going to be able to punish them on the counter enough. Yes, I wish we would have played it like a cup final in terms of from a competitive standpoint and the spirit and all that. If it's the last game of the season, maybe you see something else. Deitch saw the bigger picture today. And again, can't say it enough. It's not like I'm enjoying a 3-0 loss. And we've got in the comments, yeah, a loss is a loss. Listen, I'm not happy about losing. Don't get me wrong. But in the terms of the goal this season, plain and simple, there's one goal: stay up, stay in the Prem. In terms of a long-term thing, I have no problem with it. And it's okay to disagree. I see a little bit of nastiness in the comments. Let's keep it
If we
civil,
don't
please.
stay up, Chris, it's not this game. It's the umpteen million soft tone games where we perform
It's the Southampton. It's the Wolves. I
we're
fully
like
agree.
marshmallow games where we just don't turn up and we're soft and hollow center, and it's just yeah. And we've not scored enough goals throughout the league, so it just doesn't surprise me that one of the stats I picked up was Dominic Calvert-Lewin was 14-1 to get the first scorer in this game,
Right.
and he hadn't scored at home since October, which was kind of the reason why they'd led on to that ridiculous odds. I've never even seen odds like that since the early 90s. For an Everton striker to score at home, come on. Yeah, we're not playing Brazil. It is, yes, it's Man City, or it might as well be Brazil. But yeah,
Chris is deluded today. I'm deluded every day, mate.
We're just not score. We just don't score a lot, and it was kind of an anomaly against Brighton. City have got a whole ethos, a whole style of play. They know what their roles are. They know how to. They've got great game management. All of that stuff. It's like watching that great Barcelona team with a different colour. And I think that today we just need to reflect on the fact that Everton are just nowhere near that level.
Yeah, and I'm shocked that there's a couple comments today, and these are from a couple of our regulars saying there was no desire. What did you watch? I don't get it. I don't get what people are saying today. Yes, we're not a good side. We've said that all season in terms of fight and effort and all that. I thought it was fine. Maybe I'm missing something, Steve.
I thought there was, Chris. But what was quite interesting is for a lot of the first half, when we kept it at 0-0, we had only 18% of the ball. I'm actually very surprised that we got as much as 36, because I think in a desire to have more possession, we actually probably created more vulnerability as the game went on. I thought we played pretty well. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance. But they gave it a bloody good shift today.
Right.
And they showed up, which is exactly why the fans applauded Everton off today. How can you boo a side against Man City? Yes, if it was against Fulham or someone else, then you would be entitled to. But it looks like City are going to win the league, maybe with a game to spare. And that's some feat when you consider how well Arsenal have played this season, pretty much invincible at times. And we got absolutely slaughtered at the Emirates in the second half, and they were running circles around us.
Yeah,
they're a great side.
I stayed
Arsenal.
the whole time at that one, and that was tough to watch that second half.
Didn't know you were there. It was one of those ones where I left 10 minutes before the end and still got back 2.5 hours after kickoff.
Yeah.
And that was in just getting back to London.
Yeah.
You just can't be too disheartened by this. When you woke up this morning, did you really feel that? And this is a rhetorical question. Did you really feel that we were going to get something from the game?
Right.
Did you really? And the answer for most Evertonians is, if you are given a bet, then you probably wouldn't be putting it on Everton to win this one 3-0, and it would be more likely that, I think maybe a lot of Everton fans expected it to be a bit closer or thought we might be able to keep it tight. You just don't know how the game's going to go. I mean, Gundogan's goal is breathtaking. I have to just pause on that moment, because it's just a moment of mad genius.
Yeah,
Takes it on his thigh. I think Patterson's the closest player to him, but you can't blame Patterson for this.
right.
Even Maldini
He
wouldn't
tries
have
to
got
put a
near him.
shoulder into him, and it just, I mean, quite
And then
honestly, just kind of
it's
misses.
a flick, and it just happened in a split moment. I mean, as a fan, if you're in the stands, you watch that and it happens in a split moment. Imagine what it's like for Pickford. I mean, he reacted pretty quickly, but he kind of dived after the ball was kind of already in the net. I mean, Gundogan's done that. What really upset me was how quickly we conceded the second goal. We should have tried to keep it tight till half time at that point, because that would have given us an opportunity to just regroup a little bit and then go, okay, well, we're 1-0 down here, guys. What do we do? Do we just keep it tight till the end and see if we can nick it? That's probably the way you go. But we're going 2-0, and obviously Haaland, what a leap from Haaland there in the Gladys Street, and he gets that goal. But again, it's stuck on a plate from Gundogan.
He's a robot anyway.
I know. These are quality players. These are players that
that's the thing.
Walk into nearly every side in the world.
We're taking a little stick for our praise of City, but that's the thing. I don't know. What do our regulars want here? Do they want us to come on and start yelling about how shit we were and how this and that, and if we'd done this and if we'd done that? No, the fact of the matter is we didn't play awful today. City just were better because they are a better side. That's the fact. How can you not be positive as a fan that your team actually showed up and got off the bus and gives you a little optimism for the rest of the season, knowing that they're going to give you effort? I don't get it. Just because I'm not yelling and screaming at the screen right now. Relax.
There's just no point doing that. Yeah. Like, the time to yell and scream is if we go down to Wolves and just don't show up and lose.
Yeah, that's the time where we get upset.
Be furious.
Exactly.
We've got that. Wolves have got not much to play for. I mean, they have things to play for. Every single place in the league brings its own prize money, and there's Intertoto Europa League conferences for every single division. It seems like there's almost
this is beautiful, by the way. I've seen a few comments, but this one might top the list. Can't believe Chris was angry about Leicester, but praises the shit show today. Ems, you're absolutely insane. The fact that we went down 2-2 and could have taken the game against an absolutely atrocious Leicester side, and I mean that respectfully, Ems, you're still in my heart. But what I mean is that is complete apples and oranges today. I'd say, honestly, we had more fight today than we did at Leicester, if you really want to get down to it. And that comes from a stance of we didn't take our chances against Leicester when we know we could have against a side that's more wide open than Goodison is in my background right now. It's just, come on. I don't, again, not trying to get an argument with everybody in the comments. I don't get what everybody's seeing that I don't. Usually we're in a little bit more of agreement there. Steve and I saw it. Obviously the home fans saw it when they clapped the team off. No, I hate that we lost. Trust me. I'm never going to be happy after a loss. I'm not happy right now, just in the sense that there are positives to be taken from this. And I feel better about the rest of the season, given the effort that the boys have put in, quite frankly, in the last couple of weeks.
You have to look at it as a whole, really. And this was the one game that everyone said, we better do this or get a point there or try and get something at Tottenham and do this, because that City game is a write-off. So just to remind you, everyone had written this game off. No one was coming on 2 or 3, 4 games ago going, City at home, that'll be a 3-pointer. We'll pick up points here. No, everyone said, right, we're not getting anything from that, so we better be in our better position. We are still in a better position than we were in. And we have only ourselves to blame if we don't get out of this now, because we have a chance of doing so. It hurts. It hurts really bad. But the pain science goes that if you're in awe, it's less painful, believe it or not.
But I need to interrupt you real quick. Sorry, Steve. But it's been rumored, but now it's been confirmed by Sean Dyche. Dom had a tight groin, and because of his history, we had to get him off. We'll have to wait and see, but the hope is he came off before damage was done.
That's not great news.
That's kind of the last thing we needed to hear right now. So, yes, if you wanted me to stop being positive, you have found a way for me to stop being positive. If we lose DCL, I'm not saying we're down. I'm saying the task has been multiplied by about 10 in terms of trying to find a way to get points from these last ones. I can't stress enough how much of a difference he has made the last couple of weeks that he's played, or 4 or 5 weeks, however long it's been, in terms of the attack, in terms of, really just the sharpness, being able to hold up, creating runs for other people, and obviously the goals that he's created as well. That would be a massive, massive loss.
Massive. And he did so well. In the first 30 minutes, he didn't have any support. At times, he just literally could win a free kick. There was nowhere to go. And there's no support for him at all. And he's led the line superbly. And I just hope that they wrap him up with cotton wool. And, there's still time till it's Saturday afternoon, isn't it? The next game at 3:00. Yeah. There's still time for that game. There's still 5 days to be able to get him ready. And they may just do a little bit lighter training, and then they'll review it. And if he doesn't make Wolves, then hopefully he'll make Bournemouth. And what do we do at Wolves? I mean, it's not all on him. He did play really well, but we've had better performances out of everyone recently. McNeil, Decore, pretty much everyone. Garner's been good away from home. They seem to be a little bit less pressured at the moment. And actually the kind of form has turned around, doesn't it? We're getting the points on the road at the moment. Looking back to that Leicester game, Chris, I mean, I'm frustrated as well that we didn't get anything out of it. But at one point during that game, we're facing a penalty that was going to put us 2 clear goals away from Leicester. And I think that, you kind of have to look at it philosophically and realistically. And, the game, this whole league, it's based on 38 games. It's not based on one moment. We've kind of not really deserved to stay up, and we've given ourselves a chance of doing so.
I'm frustrated about Leicester. I'm more frustrated about Forest. I'm not going to if we go down, I will never forget the Forest game for as long as I live, probably, at the fact that we didn't make a sub that could have not only prevented their goal, but it could have also had us going forward to score a third. The Forest game was the one where things changed for me under Deitch. Obviously, under Lampard, you can talk about a lot more, but 10 home defeats, by the way, it must be said, 10 home defeats out of 17 is an unbelievable statistic for Everton, and it's quite frustrating. I saw in the comments that's unacceptable. Spot on, absolutely right. Can't say anything more about that.
It's ridiculous. It's not good value for money, is it? Never mind.
No, of course not.
If that was a purchase of goods, we should be going to trading standards saying that's goods are not fit for the purpose they're sold. But listen, you kind of know that Everton create this situation. The fellow Everton team this morning, at least 3 of us weren't well. At least 3 of the 8 or 10 regulars weren't well. Bloody headaches. This team just create really bad headaches for our fans. And look, I think we need to just be positive now and go to Wolves. And if we're not positive as fans, then it's going to reflect on the way that everyone's mood is. But I'm sure the flares will be there at Goodison against Bournemouth. It is going down to that, I'm afraid. I think I don't see any other way, and we can go down to get Wolves, because I think even if we beat Wolves, Chris, we still need 1 point.
It depends on point of view. If we beat Wolves, I honestly think one more win does it. Given the other fixtures that these other teams have, 4 points definitely would do it, but I think 3 will be enough. That's something I'll probably analyze a little bit more in our match preview this week when we do that. This is interesting, by the way, from Ryan. He said, read this next comment, and it says, the club have hired third-party security in the event we go down and fans get aggressive, and that's what you saw today with the square of security around the technical area. I'm not sure if he was responding to someone else's question or where that came from, but I didn't even notice that, quite frankly.
I just hope that if it does come down to the worst, Chris, that we go down with some dignity, not with malarkey and the whole pitching day, whatever it is. I just don't want it to get nasty. This is the name of Everton, and the fans,
it's going to get nasty, though. I mean, I'd love for it not to.
The problem is that 99% of the fans will probably, accept it and reflect on it if it does come down to the worst. And if we kind of escape it, then that will be the same as well. But please do not invade the pitch on the last game of the season, whatever happens, because if we get docked a point or 3 or more, and that then reflects us or fine, we can't afford fines. Never mind,
Yeah.
Just please don't do it. If you know anyone that's planning to do it, just don't do it. It's just not worth it. We're already in enough trouble.
Public service announcement from Stevie there.
There's one more home game left. I mean, it might well be the last one. I really hope that it isn't. I just hope. But unfortunately, all I can say is hope, because it's not in our hands, as we just heard from Chris, because it all depends on whether Leicester lose tomorrow.
Which, again, we think they will. But until then, someone's asked if I'm going to do a watch along. Probably not, even though it does affect us. Maybe I will. We'll see if I'm up for it. But
might do if we do a watch along. If it's Leicester 0, the other side 3 at halftime, we might do a watch along.
Yeah, maybe we'll jump on for the second half. But again, it's not. I don't think you guys understand how much
stressful.
I don't like rah-rahing. I'm never going to be celebratory when the Reds score a goal under nearly any circumstances. So
no, it's never comfortable. It's almost like something that it's part of your DNA as a human being, and it just doesn't feel very comfortable.
Right.
So we just can't be doing that. But we will be, really hoping that Leicester lose, because that has a massive impact on our survival hopes.
Oh, puts it back in our hands. I mean, quite frankly, that, and again, very, very likely scenario, Leicester lose, and let's say they do. All of a sudden, we feel much different because, again, it's the anticipation that's going to kill you. It's almost like you don't peel the Band-Aid off, you just rip it, and that's pretty much what it is. Right now, we're peeling it until the Leicester game happens. As soon as Leicester do lose, all of a sudden it is in our hands. We have to take care of business, which I'm confident that we will do. Again, can't stress enough. Not happy with the loss, not exactly praising the side for being a good squad because we've been a bad squad most of the season. I'm praising the squad for putting forth the effort and desire that I feel that they did show because that's what I ask as a supporter. And again, for everyone disagreeing in the comments, let's just keep it civil. That's all. I know this sounds crazy, but in this world, we used to be able to have a conversation and still be friends afterwards. I know.
Yeah, sometimes you need to agree to disagree. And the thing is, I'm actually, I'm sure this will affect me more tomorrow because it always does the morning after a game, especially if you've been beaten in the same way that you feel on top of the world if you've won. Right. But I'm glad it's over, to be honest. Today it could have been a lot worse, and I mean that because this is a side, City and Everton, that you put two really poor defense. Look at the track history of the season. A side that doesn't score goals against a side that's like literally just bulldozing teams and bullying them into defeat. So you put those two together and there's only 3 goals apart. You kind of, okay, it's over now. We can just move on because it could have been so much worse. Imagine if we lost 5-0 today. That could have been the difference, because if it does go down to goal difference, we're not scoring a lot of goals. Take Brighton aside, that was the one game when we scored loads of goals. 16% of all our goals this season. Still 16% because we didn't score today.
Right.
Crazy stat. So we needed to keep it as tight as possible. 2 would have been better. 3, it remains to be seen. But at least that game is over now. We can move on.
Right.
And kind of, it feels like a weight off the shoulders, really, honestly.
Yeah, and again, listen, I've said it enough. We're saying the same thing and going around in circles at this point. We will do, Ryan says he'll do a phone in when he gets home. I was actually about to wrap it up, but I guess if Ryan, if you hear that, throw in the comments how long you might be, because again, we're just kind of talking in circles at this point and saying the same thing over and over
again.
I
think that dissecting this now, Chris, is not going to make anyone feel happy. We've touched on the Gundogan goal, which, if you show that to any football fan around the world, you'd say that's world class. And then there's a second goal that goes in. Prior to that, we played well, but second half we're chasing shadows, and actually had a number of shots and efforts, and we put the shift in, but we're just not good enough. So we can't keep going over that performance, but we welcome any particular performances that you felt were below par, or anything you want to pick up on the phone in with Ryan, who was at the game, and he will be welcoming your comments on it. But most of us were really just in a bit of a bitter mood, but we have to live and learn and move on.
We will move on, indeed. And I think Ryan's phone, and I assume, will be a separate video. So, Steve, I will wrap this one up. Any final comments other than just positivity going forward?
Yeah, we've got to stay positive. Really, that's all it's about. And just hope that DCL is it's kind of under wraps, and that he can start on Saturday against Wolves, and we go again.
We go again, boys. Hey, listen, whether you agree or disagree, we appreciate you guys being here and supporting our channel. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do us a big favor. Do that at Follow Everton on Twitter, at Follow Everton on YouTube. Of course, my cheap plug of the day, youtube.com/@RealDominoChris. You can find @RealDominoChris on Twitter, on YouTube, and of course at twitch.tv/RealDominoChris. All of those channels have some cool stuff coming up. Indeed, in the very near future, or in due course, as they say across the pond. Listen, we appreciate you supporting us. That's all we can say. We're all blue at the end of the day, and we're all on the same team, and we're all hoping for the best. So until next time, as always, we'll see you for the match preview this week, and Ryan will see you probably in about 20-30 minutes time. So stay tuned for that. And as always, up the Toffees, everybody.